All right, guys, lesson number 3, positional control from the mount. Let's go through some solo movements, some warm-up drills that will help us prepare for today's lesson, starting with hip pressure. So everyone, lay fully proned out on your stomach here, okay? Hands off the ground, elbows off the ground, feet up, and if you can, take your knees off the ground 2 inches. Just by flexing your glutes and your hamstrings, your knees will float just a little bit, and your chest off the ground as well. Depending on your lower back comfort, you'll be range and comfortability and mobility here. But let's just try that where we kind of go from down. Look, feet off the ground, knees off the ground, hands, elbows, chest. What this is teaching you is to center all of your weight on your hips and your abdomen on your opponent, okay? So stay here for a second with me. Great. Now from here, look at this. From that hip pressure, do this. One hand in front of your face, one hand out. Excellent. Now do this. Switch. Switch. So with that hip pressure, and your knees are still an inch off the ground, switch. My hands are weightless. Look. Boom. Boom. We're handing off the subject's head as they push us side to side. Great. Now, what I want you to do is leave your forearm here, leave your other hand out, and now all I want you to do is this. Take your knee, ride it forward. So one knee forward, my pelvis and chest, everything's flat on the mat. One knee rides forward, but your foot remains tucked in, and the other toes are facing the ceiling. My hips are flush to the pelvis, to the mat. Now watch, keeping your hands where they are, this one goes in, this one goes out. Literally, in, out. Your hips are rolling. So as I extend this hook back, my pelvis is square to the mat, my thighs are on the mat, and then my hips roll, and my other knee comes forward. Back in, hooks in, square pelvis, roll, knee forward. Hooks in, square pelvis, roll, knee forward. In, square, roll, forward, okay? These are our hook handoffs, boom. And you can speed it up slightly if you feel comfortable. Boom. Beautiful, excellent. And now, coming to our knees right here, I want you to go from your stomach, look, push up, and go to your knees, okay? Back down, so hands out, push up, and go to your knees. You should be able to ride into a high mount kneeling position. Back down, hold, push off your hands, go to your knees. Excellent. And now from your knees, look, all I want to practice is this, shoulder. And then take your hand, put it against your chest, to the mat. Shoulder to the mat. Shoulder to the mat. So I'm pulling my shoulder back while keeping one hand on the mat. I pull one shoulder. My knife enters in by my pec and then goes straight to the mat. Once it does, I pull my other shoulder, go around, insert, and go back. And go insert, and go back. And now after this last one, insert, go back. Lay all the way down and put your hooks in, neck hug, hand out. Excellent. All right, a lot of core movements and hip pressure there that we're gonna use very much in today's lesson. We'll see you in slice number 1. Our goal in the fight is to avoid the knockout, potentially get a hold of this person, oftentimes take them to the ground, right? Barring specific, challenging circumstances, get this person to the ground, achieve the dominant position, and win the fight with the least amount of violence, the lowest level of force. And to do that, few things accomplish that more effectively than very, very good control. Now, control can be a submission, but it can also be a positional, a body control, and the mount. As you guys have previously learned and discussed with us, the mount is one of the most dominant positions of control in the fight. Okay, my knees are on either side of Hidon's hips. When we talk about the mount, people are often quick to want to hurt someone from here or want to submit them from here. So they may get to the mount in a scuffle of a standing fight that ends up on the ground. If you're lucky and you did good technique and you achieved the mount, great. But if you're too emotional right now at this moment and you're fighting with violence and emotion, you're likely to stay too upright, and as a result, you may get pushed off and lose your position. It's so normal to want to hurt this person, and the easiest way to do that is to sit up and punch him. What we're proposing is that instead of fighting with emotion right here and getting thrown off, fight with technique, fight with compassion and control to hopefully end this fight with the lowest level of force and violence from him to us, from us to them. That's it. So instead of sitting up, we want to get very low, and here's how that might look. Go! Boom, and we're here. And now Hidon's burning. Talk about your spirit.
Oh, my spirit is crushed.
So here's the idea, you guys. We're going to teach you positional control from the mount. We're going to break this up into several slices and different components. Then we're going to put it all together as we always do in our reflex development drills. But we're going to start with an important slice, okay? Hips and hands, we like to call this one, because it's so unusual for people who've just met each other, especially in a training environment, to put hip pressure on one another. And the most important concept of mount control that you're going to learn today is this idea of connecting to our opponent. Okay, we're going to talk more about it, but the connection principle is everything in this lesson. What that means is if I just lay on top of Hidon, look, even though I weigh 195 pounds, if he can bench press 205 pounds, he can bump and push me straight off, and I'm going to get thrown straight off to the side because Hidon can bench press more than the gravitational weight that I have on me. But what's interesting is if I connect, you can lay down again. Yeah. If I connect, I'll do this in 1 second. So if I connect with him, watch this. Now go bench press. Boom. Impossible. That's the essence of slice number 1 here, right? Which is hips and hands. And now I'm no longer bench pressable because I'm connected, connection principle, connected to Hidon. Okay, so push me off. It's not happening. So my hooks go in, my hips are heavy, my hand is hugging his neck, and my other hand is out for base. Okay, and my hips are driving through his pelvis with both hooks in. Why does this work? Okay, for the same reasons that if I'm laying down, or Hidon's laying down, if Hidon's laying down, and I were to say, Hidon, can you bench press this belt? And I were to lay it right here, he can just flick it right off, right? He can bench press the belt, no problem. But if Hidon ties this belt around his waist, and you might know where I'm going with this. If this belt is connected to Hidon, hold it with 2 hands, really solid grips. Bench press it for all your might. You guys, the belt did not change in weight. It only changed in technique. The belt knows jiu-jitsu, you guys. This belt, this piece of cotton, has more jiu-jitsu knowledge than 99.9% of the human population, because the belt understands that once connected to the subject, it becomes unbench pressable. So can someone who weighs 150 pounds hold someone down who weighs 250 pounds, right? Or who can bench press 250 pounds? Can you be heavier than your physical weight? Yes. If you understand the connection principle. And the connection principle basically teaches us to connect to our opponent in different ways to do one of 3 things: prevent movement, promote movement, or predict movement. And in slice number 1, the emphasis of the connection principle is almost entirely on preventing movement. By me locking on to Hidon in this way, I am no longer bench pressable, and that's what we want all of you to learn before we start adding some of the dynamic slices 2, 3, and 4. All right, it's going to be very fun and very exciting, but we start with hip pressure and the weightlessness of our knees. So let's do this. Hands out, body flat. Look at my knees. Slide your knees south and put your feet up towards the center. My toes are not sticking out, grapevine his ankles. They're basically, feet are driving towards each other and up. I tell people sometimes, like, pray with your feet. Pray. Now, they may not touch sometimes, but at least the direction of my feet is inward and upward, not down and out. And then from that hip pressure, we're all going to start with just that. After I do that successfully for 3 seconds and Hidon verifies it, he's going to slowly push me to a side and we're going to hug the neck. And this goes into the head control principle. Okay, another form of connection, right? But by me controlling Hidon's head, it greatly reduces his effectiveness. So the head control principle, where control the head, control the body. So in this case, controlling his head keeps my body connected to him. All right, so head control principle and connection principle are the 2 priority principles for this slice that we want to emphasize. So as Hidon pushes me this way, I'm right here. As he pushes me the other way, watch my hands. All I'm going to have you guys do is switch the hands. Boom. And my goal is to remain aligned with Hidon's center line here. Go ahead, other side. Boom. My goal is to keep that alignment other side, so I'm not going side to side and pushing and doing this and swinging. I don't want to do that. My goal is nice connection, nice base points here, nice hip pressure, and then switching. And for the bottom person, for safety, keep your head up a little bit, because if you're not, it's going to like speed bump every time it comes under your head. So this makes it a lot easier. Look, that's all we're doing. Switching hands and showing that we can do this handoff of the head with full hip pressure the whole time. Hidon's turn. And what we'll do is we'll go side to side about 8 to 10 times before reversing rolls on the drill here. So if Hidon starts with Superman, hooks in, hands up, chest off me, full hip pressure, and I can verify that his knees are floating and that my voice is affected by the extreme pressure of his hips. His hands are very light. He's not bearing a lot of weight because it's all right here. And as I push him to one side, he gets his neck hug. My head is up for safety. As I switch, boom. Look how solid his base point is. Look how solid his neck hug is. And then he's switching. and he's switching, but his hooks are remaining unchanged. It's all about hip pressure, neck hug, and alternating hands right now. Boom, boom, and then bad guy on the bottom. Try to bench press their pelvis if you can. Like, try to push up, but there's no way, because Hito's driving his feet up and pull up here a little bit. Look at that. All to amplify the hip pressure, making it impossible to bench press, even if he weighs as much as a, half a pound cotton jiu-jitsu belt.
How much did I weigh right there? How much did you feel?
It felt like 487.
There it is, you guys. Solo, we got it?
That was more than twice my bench press potential. But if Hito just lays on me with his own body weight, I can... I've been in the gym. I've been doing my work, you guys. So I can let him fly, but not when he connects to me. Okay? We're going to practice this. We're going to bring that hip pressure in. So all it is lay low, toes up, hands out. And then all I want to see is this. 1, 2, 3. Look at my hooks remain unchanged. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And keeping those hooks up and in. Remember, we're not grapevining the shins. Mount on me real quick. Because... if Hito is here and has his hooks in and he's grapevining where his toes are drastically driving out, if I just, in my sporadic attempt to escape, if I just kick my legs straight, my feet might end up inside Hito's, which makes then his hips bench pressable. Okay, so if I'm able to free my hooks and get my feet inside, he is no longer connected to me for that prevention of movement, right? So Hito wants those feet heavy into the sky, hips heavy, arching up, and the feet are somewhat touching and close together. So if my legs accidentally kick straight, they don't automatically pop his hooks out.
Sometimes throughout this control, the top person may feel like they're kind of sliding forward. So make a little effort to move south. And not only are your hands out, but your hands can guide you low, which makes for a better neck hug, and it allows your hips to be lower, which allows your hooks to have more reach.
So this is that preparation drill that teaches you dynamic hand movement and fixed hip pressure and hooks. In the next slice, we're going to learn dynamic hook movement. Our legs are going to be much more involved in the control, and that's the variation that you're more likely to use in everyday practice or in an everyday altercation situation, if it ever were to happen. So learn this, learn hip pressure, get comfortable laying on someone. Don't feel sorry for them. They ask permission, but when they give it to you, let them have your hips. It's okay. And then show us that you know how to switch hands just to understand base points and connection and balance there. And then when we add in the dynamic hooks, it'll come in much more naturally if you've trusted your weight on your partner in slice 1 practice.
Yep. 30, 40 seconds, like you said, 10
side to side.
5 times to each side.
Depending on the size. Sometimes the top person weighs 50 pounds more and they're putting full hip pressure. The bottom person can barely breathe and they're trying, but they're... It sucks sometimes. So if it's truly inhibiting your breathing potential from the mount with that hip pressure in, just tap out and say, hey, get off me after 4 times side to side. Okay, so 30 seconds might be a little much depending on the weight disparity between the 2 practitioners. Let's have fun. Let's go slow. Bottom person is giving feedback. I'm like, Hito said, if during your side to side you start creeping north, push off the mat, cycle back south, reset your hooks, and you want your hips low next to their hips. You don't want your hips up on their chest because that means your hooks are not going to be as prominently, inserted in their leg entanglements. You want those hooks deep and pointing up to the sky, not down and out. You want those feet up and in, okay? And hip pressure, and those knees should be pretty floaty. If your knees are bearing the weight, that means your hips are not. And if your hips aren't bearing the weight on theirs, you're not effectively using hip pressure for slice number 1. Let's practice it side to side 8 to 10 times, reverse rolls, giving each other feedback. Here we go. You've learned how to apply hip pressure to make the bottom person's life miserable. Okay? They don't want to be there. Now, let's talk about how to use dynamic hooks to make their escape very difficult, right? Because hip pressure and those connections prevent bench press, but they're not completely perfect at preventing rollouts from either side to side. So if Hito is down and I'm the jiu-jitsu practitioner in the mount right here, we talked about hooks in, hands out, and alternating hands. But let's just say that we're here and he don't start switching side to side, and because I'm here and I'm a little late on the switchback and I get rolled because the hooks are designed, push my hips, to stop the bench press. But the reality is, if he don't rolls me that way where I have no hand, my hooks do not stop a log from rolling down the hill, right? So for that, we need dynamic hooks, right? We call anchor and base as a concept in the mount control with our hooks. So now, if I have a fixed neck hug and he don't wants to get out, here's how it looks. Boom. Boom. It's so good that even if I don't have a hand, go faster. Boom.
Okay.
There you go. Anchor and base, ladies and gentlemen. One hook in, one knee open. All right? So here's how this works. We're going to go with a fixed neck hug, hand out for base, and then from a position where we have 2 hooks in, I might have 2 hooks kind of loosely inserted. When Hidon decides which way he's going to go, I'm going to float that knee forward in this kickstand. There's my base point. As he goes the other way, I'm going to insert my hook and then float the other knee. So now I have an anchor and a base point. Go other way. Anchor, base. Anchor, base. Always anchor on the back side, base on the front side. Okay? And this right here, as you may have observed, is the utilization of the pyramid principle. And where's the pyramid? That back hook of Hidon's, that's one of our base points. The neck hug and my elbow position over here is another base point. And then my knee propped out for base is the third point on the pyramid, which keeps me from getting rolled. Because if this hook was not posted out, let's say it was fully inserted, we roll, we fall. So that's what anchor and base teaches. Back hook in, front knee open, and whether you have your hand out or you just have amazing hook switches, right? He's here, he switches, I'm like, bop. Ultimately, it's a no-handed mount that we want you guys to learn because we want you to understand the significance of your hook and your hip pressure, your neck hug, and of course this kickstand on the front side. And whenever you're not sure which side should the knee be posted out on, whenever you're not sure, always remember the front side, whichever way Hidon's going. So if a bike is falling that way, that's the side that you need a kickstand. If the bike starts getting pushed the other way, boom, my other hook goes in, my other knee goes out, okay? So I'm switching and I'm going. Some common mistakes on the hook handoffs is people will often take the hook out. Okay, let's rotate a little more. People will often take this hook out, like if Hidon's going this way and he goes to switch, watch this, freeze. As he goes to switch, if I take this hook out before putting this hook in, that's not efficient because I'm taking my hip pressure off of Hidon in between every repetition. So if he's pushing me this way, I'm here. The moment Hidon starts to relax and go the other way, this one goes in first. So my hooks go in before my hook comes out. And it may happen very quickly, go the other way. It's maybe quick, but my hook goes in before my hook goes out. That way my hip pressure remains intact the whole time, all the time. Mount on me, please. This is called anchor and base. We're going to practice dynamic hook switches. We want you to keep a fixed neck hug, so one hand hugging the neck, the other hand out for base, and leave those hands in position because when done correctly, these hooks can be effective at immobilizing someone's escape attempts without switching hands on the neck. Now, not to say that in worst case scenarios, you won't switch, right? Like Hidon can explain that a little bit.
There will be times where I'm low, I'm controlling someone's neck, he's pushing me in one direction, switch the other way, boom, legs, other way. Legs, other way, legs. But now he insists, he keeps going. And I feel like, you know what? Let me switch my hands. But the important part is that the control is 98% legs. 2% hands. Boom, hooks, legs. And similar to the hooks that we used in the Americana when controlling the Americana arm lock, the key to smooth hook transitions is hip pressure. That's why we had Slice 1 to teach you how to connect and how to be heavy, but also so that your legs, when you bring them into the movement, they move very smoothly.
If your partner's having trouble, this is the drill. I won't even move. I'll just lay here with Hidon hand out, and Hidon will do hook in, knee forward. Okay, look at this. See how his knee's propped forward, you guys? And look how his foot remains close to my glutes so that it's easily hook. You can easily reinsert the hook and switch him. If his foot goes out too wide, there's a chance that during the reinsertion he misses my leg and he goes on the outside of my calf versus inside my hamstring on the way in. So always have the base leg. The foot should remain close to the glutes so it's easily hookable on the return when you're switching side to side.
So if they're having trouble, they can just do it without
I'm not moving.
The bottom person pushing. Now, I could still, in my mind, I'm like, he's pushing me that way. Boom, there's my knee. Okay, he's going to go the other way. Hook, hand off. And now he's going back that way. Hook, hand off. He's going back that way again. Hook in, knee out. Back, hook in, front knee open.
And then over time, those handoffs do become more fluid. There's not a pause in between. He shoots it in, and the other, it's like it kicks it right out. Boom, it kicks out, it kicks out, it kicks out. It's very, very crisp on the transition over time. So in terms of principles.
Yeah, what is it that allows you to switch so quickly and so smoothly from one to the other and know?
The connection principle by way of movement prediction. So connection can be used to create movement, promote movement. It can be used to prevent movement, like in Slice 1, the bench press. But connection can also be used to predict movement. Because every connection with your opponent, no matter how unique the connection, is also a sensor. It's a sensor of what they're thinking at any given time, right? It's the best read. So when Hito's here and has a neck hug, and I roll this way, and he puts his back hook in, and I'm driving hard this way, because he's so connected to me, as I start to soften my escape, he already knows where I'm going to go. So by the time I switch sides, look at his hooks, they've already switched. So by the time I hit here, I hit a brick wall. And as I soften up here, he doesn't wait for me to switch. He already switches. So by the time I get there, I'm running into another brick wall. So if you use the connection principle here and use it to anticipate my next movement, it's so much more efficient. You don't want to switch your hooks in response to my directional switch. You want to switch your hooks in response to my initial relaxation off my failed escape attempt. So as I go this way and I'm trying as hard as I can, when I stop, he already switches, and now I run into the wall on the other side. That's so much better, because if you don't do that, let's say you're here, and you go here, and you only wait for me, and now switch.
Too late.
It might be too late.
Yeah.
You might get caught.
Now,
So we need to read the opponent's mind. And the way you read someone's mind is you connect to them, and you use the connection principle to predict their next movement, because you understand human nature.
now when you're on top, it might not feel, it feels a little scary sometimes to invest so much in, like, throw me that way, to invest everything. Like, I had 2 posts, my hand and my knee, and I have 2 anchors on the backside. When you look at this and you get in this position, you might feel like, man, I'm very much at risk. But I know something. I know that he can't go from going forward. He can't go into reverse in a car, for example, and can't change directions without first stopping.
Some point, yeah.
So when he gives energy, all kinds of energies here, he has to stop that energy. And that's my
And by the time I'm
indicator.
by the time I'm in reverse, he's already waiting at the front door. And that's what we're talking about with regards to connection for the use of predicting their next movement. So in terms of principles, connection principle, massive for prediction. The second one is the pyramid principle, as we mentioned. He don't hugging my neck. Look at this. How amazing. Pyramid with the knee, even with the hand on this side. But even on the side when I switch back and he only switches his hooks and his hands don't switch, he's got my one pyramid point is here, the other one is here, or even here, and the third one is his knee that is propped out on the other side, and then he comes right back. So those dynamic switching hooks are everything when it comes to mount control. And then, of course, critically important principle, the depletion principle. And this is the principle of targeted actions with the sole purpose of depleting your opponent's physical and mental, emotional energy, right? When he don't mounts on me like this, puts his hooks in, and just prevents my escape, he's not just preventing my escape. He's preventing all of my success in my mind from being possible. And as a result of that, he's depleting my energy and my spirit so rapidly that after 5, 10, 15 seconds of this, the person on the bottom goes, man, there's no way I can... And now they start to question their entire life. And at that point, Hito knows that we're very close to this fight ending without any violence.
Yeah. Which the depletion principle very much allows the fight to end with no violence.
Right.
Because compared to winning the fight with a submission, for example, even though that's no violence in terms of you didn't damage the person's shoulder, you are applying pain. I'm not applying any pain. You are panicking. You are trying to get out, and then you are realizing, oh my goodness, I'm so tired down here. I have so little energy. And then after 30 seconds, 45 seconds of you, because you're essentially depleting your own energy. We can say that we're both responsible. It's not only me doing it. Your panic is also burning your energy. So as you burn and you burn, after 40 seconds, imagine you sit up like 3 inches and you say to the person, are we done here? There's no better time to introduce the idea or to give the option of just being done with the fight after you have applied the depletion principle.
There you go. So let's start from the mount. Hip pressure, Hito. Get low, hug the neck, hand out. Solo, here's how it might look, you guys. He has a neck hug, he has a hand out. We're going to keep a fixed neck hug. And remember, you only switch hands on the neck hug if you feel like your switching hooks is not enough. They're not enough. So at this point, when the subject pushes them that way, front knee opens up, hand stays out, neck hug is in. When the subject's trying hard and they start to relax and switch directions, Hito hooks goes in, other knee comes out, hips heavy the whole time. They're trying to push this way. They're trying. They deplete. He switches. Other hook goes in. Other knee comes out. Right? Trying. When they soften, switch, and come out. So a huge part. That's how it would look solo. Very easy to practice. When you do it with a partner, the most important part is the deliberate presentation of energy and indicators by the bad guy. The bad guy, I don't want you switching back and forth super fast and your partner can't even keep up because their hooks are brand new. Bad guy, what you need to do is go like this, push one way, and make sure everything's correct. Oh, nice hook. Oh, hold on, adjust this right here. Good. Nice, your knee a little more right here. Great, that feels solid. Hug my neck, put your hand out. Great. All right, I'm gonna switch directions. Are you ready? Slow. Go the other way, their hooks are gonna switch. Boom, they'll be a little late at first. Boom, their legs switch, their hands do not switch. They're in the other direction. You're checking them. Their hooks feel solid. Oh man, the hooks feel solid. You relax. They switch the hooks now a little sooner, a little earlier. Boom, perfect. Check. See how deliberate the switchbacks are? Yeah. So until the top person's movements become muscle memory, we don't want the bottom person's escape attempts to be wild and sporadic. Do you understand? It needs to be targeted, the actions. Now, I would say the number one mistake on this is the direction of the hook, just real quick. So if I'm here and he's pushing, let's say I'm this neck hug, and I'm this hand out, and he goes here, it's very common for this hook to do this. And again, we've talked about this in the first slice. If he kicks out of this, I'm no longer connected to him. So please, you guys, the way I like to envision it is imagine this foot is like a scorpion's tail that goes up, my pelvis goes down, but my tail is reaching, like I'm taking my toes, the stinger, and I'm trying to reach up and over to my head. That's the direction of my foot. It's all glutes and back and hamstrings. And then when he switches directions, it's like boom. But my toe's still driving up, my foot's still driving up until we get back on the switchback. And side note, let's say you roll me to the backside and I do this. And let's say you untangle the hook. That would be a good indicator to say, up.
Hands.
Do you understand? So the hooks are the primary source of control as long as they're intact. If at any point a hook becomes compromised, which we don't even encourage you to do right now, there's no need. Right now, just let's learn the hooks before we mess with the hooks. But at any point in actual practice or application, if a hook becomes compromised, that's when you have to abort the neck hug and post out your hands and do not sacrifice, right, your mount control, and you're going to fall off because you're so connected to that neck hug. You have to let go of the neck. And there are going to be repercussions of letting go of the neck. They might be able to push your body in ways that we'll talk about in a few of the next slices here. But it's better to let go of the neck and post out and not fall than to be death grip on the neck. And even when you should have switched hands and let go, you didn't. So know that as long as your hooks are deep, they're solid, and your hips are early in your anticipation of your opponent's movements, keep that fixed neck hug. If anything becomes compromised or your timing gets off, let the neck go and go. Let the neck go and disconnect, because that head control is so valuable, but it's not more valuable than the mount top position. There you go.
So 2 or 3 side to side, 2 to each side, with a fixed neck hug. And then give the person 40 pounds, 60 pounds in your imagination. And then when they push you the other way, switch your legs first. But then you say, you know what, I need more, and then bring your hand in. So also practice bringing your hands in, because somebody very, very big, someone very explosive, it might be necessary sometimes.
After several seconds of trying to escape your mount unsuccessfully, your opponent is going to get pretty creative with how they try to throw you off from them, because they're either going to try harder in different directions or they're going to give up altogether. Okay? And in either case, we need to be effective against them. So if I'm mounted and he don't realize is that pushing me this way, hook, other way, hook, you start to realize real quickly, you're not getting me off with those big rolls in either direction. My anchor and my base are too strong. My pyramid principle, my connection, my anticipation of your movements, everything is too sharp. You feel like you're hitting a brick wall. So you're looking to go in a completely different direction. And one of those might be that he looks at this hand over here and says, wow, maybe that hand is what's stopping him from getting rolled.
It sure looks like it.
Yeah, so he comes out and just chops it down. Boom! Locks it into my body with hopes that he can roll me off. Now, little does he know, my hooks are so good, go ahead.
Yeah, we know. We all know this.
No-handed mount. I can still maintain the mount even without my hand posted out. He doesn't know that, though. So he's over here thinking, man, I'm going to wrap that arm and break it down. So what we want to do is when we're mounted right here and the person comes over, look, we want to be slightly north. Go try to break it down. Boom. And we're here. We're back. Boom. Waiting. Don't let them learn it. And we're back. It's called the low swim, you guys. It can happen on either side, but let's do it right here. So if you ever have a hand out, again, equally on both sides, the person wants to come over and break it down. The more perpendicular my arm is to Hidon's body, the more breakdownable it is. Okay, the more choppable it is. So what I want to do is the moment that I see Hidon's hand coming in, or I start to feel him try, I'm going to take my hand and I'm going to slide it up north right here and slow him down. Look at that. I'm going to slow him down. He's going to try to break it down. I'm not going to let him patient. And then if he relaxes a little bit, I might even go a little more. Okay, and now we're here. He's burning energy. I'm letting him. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, my elbow goes up, my hand comes through. And how's your spirit after one of those swim cycles?
Yeah, I feel like I just wasted time.
And energy.
But I don't know what else to do, so I'm going to try again.
I'm staying right here. Boom. Chilling, waiting, connecting to the mat right there. Nice base points. Wait, let him burn. Roll. And we go back in. And once again, break his spirit. Some common considerations and most common mistakes. The Hidon goes to wrap my arm. The more north it is, the more awkward the angle is for his shoulders. That's why I walk my fingers north. If when I go to swim, my whole arm comes close to my body, there's a risk that he bear hugs the whole thing. So when we're here and he's trying to break it down, I'm stiff arm. And when it's time to actually roll through, I lift and roll my elbow north. Look, and then my hand. So without my elbow approaching my body, we try to swim with the hand only. And then we come back. That limits the chance that my arm gets wrapped against my torso by his overlapping arm. Okay, and here we are. Connection and staying. And then look, roll the elbow, bend it, and then come through. Now, in terms of the principles of priority right here, what are they? Reconnaissance and clock principle. Okay? So the reconnaissance principle teaches this, that 50% of what I need to defeat my opponent, I've learned, I've trained, I've practiced, I've drilled. The other 50% I will discover in the fight. I don't know his tendencies. I need to learn them. So reconnaissance is the process of allowing every connection and every engagement to prepare me better for the next engagement, especially in the battle with the opponent that I'm facing right now. Now, sometimes my preparation and my research of this person, my reconnaissance of this person will serve me in future battles with other people. But at the very least, my knowledge of Hidon's tendencies, right, from 30 seconds ago will play a factor right now. And what I learned right now will play a factor 30 seconds from now. So I'm always trying to learn his tendencies so I can use that knowledge against him or her. So in this case, if I'm here and Hidon wraps my arm real fast, go, and I'm like, oh, shoot, they're a low wrapper. So now I'm trying to creep my hand up and finally I get a swim. Now, what do I know? It's like, hey, what's up? They already told me they're a wrapper. So now I've repositioned my arm based on my knowledge that Hidon has shown the tendency to want to break my arm down. So instead of my default being here, I might default my arm a little more north. Even before his hand comes through, I'm like, yo, what's up? So now that when he gets there, how much more awkward does that feel versus this?
This is much stronger.
There you go.
You can almost lock hands here.
There you go. So I already live a little more north, right? So whether I go north after he enters or whether I live slightly more north because of my reconnaissance, that's the application of that principle. The other principle, clock principle. The clock principle teaches the deliberate disrupting of the timing of your opponent's techniques for our advantage. So when Hidon comes through, if I'm here and he goes to wrap, he has an expected timing in his mind for that.
Especially when you do it. Well,
do it.
I had the expected timing on what
the initial one
to collapse your arm. Yeah, I think it's going to take me 1 second.
Which I neutralize it, and then I go.
Yes.
Then he goes again.
But once it takes more than 1 second, now you've a little bit killed some of my spirit also. Because let's say, stay where you are.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
Now I've given up a little bit. Yes. But now the other timing. Go ahead.
Yes. The other timing consideration is if I'm going here 1, he goes again. 2, he goes again. Eventually, he's going to catch me off guard because he was able to learn the timing of my technique. So the clock principle teaches not letting him learn the time, purposely disrupting the timing that my opponent becomes privy to for our advantage. So if I'm up here north, he goes, I chill. Suddenly I go.
Oh, surprise me.
Now he goes again, and I'm gone again fast. Now he goes again, and now I'm back to waiting a little bit longer. Look, I'm just letting him burn. I love it. And we're staying right here, actually. And then... You see?
So all 3 of those were equally surprising to me.
Yeah, exactly. One was fast, one was slow, one was medium. So that's the point. It's clock principle. I'm controlling Hidon's clock of when things happen that he wants to happen on his clock, but I take control of that. And when you take control of the clock, you take control of the outcome. We love the clock principle. Just disrupting their timing by a second or 2 in either direction. Sometimes too fast, sometimes too slow. We call it fast clock or slow clock, right? You can play both. And what happens is for this drill, friends, let's start from here. Hidon will play with the swims here. We'll do about 2 or 3 swims on this side. And then he'll go the other way. I'll switch my hooks. I'll switch my hands. Just for drill purposes, we'll switch our hooks first. Now, just to be clear, anytime you switch your hooks, go the other way. So he switched my hooks first. Push, push, push. Then my hands switch afterwards, okay? If you're going to switch your hands at all, like we discussed. Look at the little finger crawl. Keep it right here. He's trying. I'm not letting him. I'm waiting. Roll my elbow. Swim right through. Stay low. Hand stays a little more north now that I know he's a swimmer. I chill. I roll. And I go here. This is called the low swim, you guys. Chilling, 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 waiting. Let him burn on this one. I'm going to chill right here. Now he has less energy. I'm chilling. And then maybe I'll bring my hand in.
Maybe you don't even swim at all.
There you go. If you have a good enough northward hand position and a good enough connection with the actual mat or surface, sometimes their attempt to break your arm down is more depleting on their arm strength and their energy than it is damaging or concerning to you.
Or maybe they attempt for 5 seconds, 7 seconds, but because you hold strong, they just stop trying.
Love that. So from the neck hug down low, we're here. My hips are in. My knee is out. My hand is out 90 degrees. When they start to show they're going to swim, I'm like, hey, I might crawl north and become more of a northward post. 45 degrees north gives him much less leverage on his wrap. He's trying to break my arm down. What's the key? Float the elbow, swim the hand through, get back out. Chill, chill, chill. Maybe he pushes me the other way. Switch my hooks. Hands. Boom, he's too strong. He goes to wrap this arm. Walk it up north. Stiff arm. Wait, wait, wait. Let him burn. Float, swim. Float, swim. And the second one I did fast. Now the third one I wait again. Just longer, longer, longer. Elbow up, float, swim. Okay, and then we're here. Switch the hooks, switch the hands. Back to normal here. Whatever side feels more natural on your neck hug. Excellent. It's called the low swim, ladies and gentlemen. It's nice. When you're low in that neck hug and your hand is out and your hooks are in, the truth is, if they trap your arm, you should have such good hooks that you don't get rolled regardless. It's called the no-handed mount. You have a neck hug, you have 2 hooks in, and you have your other hand trapped. You're still not getting rolled because you're dynamic hooks. That's a fun drill, actually. If you guys want to try that, it's quite exciting. But even though that's true, we'd rather not have our hand trapped.
Correct.
We'd rather have our hands in our own control, posted out where we see them most usable by us. All right? So let's practice this. Reconnaissance principle, clock principle are the 2 primary principles we want to focus on for this particular slice, even though, as you probably saw, there were many others firing right there. But it's always important to choose a couple that we want to really emphasize in our study so that we can develop a stronger relationship with those 2 that will serve us many moons down the road. All right, you guys, have fun, practice. Let's go low, anchor and base, but this time that hand is out and the bottom person's sole objective is to try to break down their arm. Start very gradual on your insertion and your pressure, and then as your partner becomes more and more effective at positioning and the leverage of connecting to the earth with their hand, you can put a little more pressure on the elbow and then make sure that their timing is disruptive and not predictable.
Yeah, and that hand out.
Float that elbow,
Strong
swim,
arm.
and do not let that elbow approach your body too tight. Keep that elbow away from the body so you avoid that bear hug. Here we go. When it comes to mount control, closeness is your best friend because closeness demands the highest level of energy usage by your opponent. The closer you are, the more work it is for them, especially with your connection principle, with your anchor, with your head control, all those contact principles which we love so much. Problem is, sometimes closeness is not achievable. We achieve the mount before we even get close. They're already, look, pushing us. And if you don't know what to do, and I'm trying to pull the head in and go push me out, look. So your attempt to create closeness without proper technique can cause you to lose all top position because you were just all about head control. So we want you to not be focused on the specifics of the technique, but rather the overall objective and the underlying principles that make that objective possible. And in this case, he's absolutely preventing my closeness with his stiff arms. And if I don't know how to get him off, I might try to chop or hit or like pull right through them, but he has great leverage here, and it's going to be tough to close the distance in this situation. So we want to instead use what's called the high swim technique. And we're here. Okay, we want to get low. So depending how we get here, sometimes when we're switching hands on his head, at that moment, I'm not holding Hito's head, so he was able to bench press me. We go to our knees. Step 1. Step 2, blade, knife entry. Blade, knife entry, and we get down very low. And we're right here, getting into our neck hug to prevent subsequent push attempts by the person on the bottom. So, rule number 1, if Hito's successful at getting my chest pushed away, rule number 1 is I don't want hooks in. I want to bring my knees forward by sliding up to both knees like this. Okay, now I'm going to swim by retracting one arm. Look. Shoulder back, taking the same side hand as the retracting arm, retracting shoulder, and knifing it right through. And at this point, I'm not trying to hit his arm, I'm trying to put my whole shoulder through. And then as I do, my other shoulder went back automatically, swim, introduce my shoulder. So it's not about the hand coming through, the hand leads the way, it's about the entire shoulder penetrating the space between Hito's arms that are pushing on my chest. If I have a neck hug and my hooks are in, he can't bench press me. You're pretty much going to stay locked on. So in almost every case when Hito's able to push my chest for this technique to be deployed, it's because my hands were transitioning on his neck, or he bench pressed me from the get-go and I never was able to close the distance. Cool? So maybe we're here, I switch my hands, I lost them. Freeze. Step one is what? Slide those knees up. Why? Because if I keep my hooks in, I'm very rollable. I don't have any base right now. Roll me this way. I can fall. So the moment Hidon's able to create this kind of separation, watch my knees. I put the weight here and I float up to my knees. Both knees on the ground, stable, right? Just a normal amount. But here's the key. I have to keep weight on Hidon's hands, because if I take my weight off, he'll quickly reposition his hands, and now it's going to be much harder to swim because the hand is lower position on my abdomen. So to avoid Hidon's hands from having the freedom to reposition, I've got to give his hands a job. Boom, pressure. Okay, pressure on his hands. So even though I'm on my knees, my weight is on his hands. Now, what's the step? Blade those shoulders and knife your hand through. Now, what's interesting is from here, sometimes you blade and just his arm just falls off, right? Because if his hands are a little more center on my chest, look, just by doing this, all his hands melted off and I go into here, which you'll see in other classes where we can go into a submission or a control hold from here. So simply changing the angle of my shoulders, aka the redirection principle. Okay, so this is the principle of redirecting our opponent's energy in our favor. Okay, and this tied in with the river principle, the principle of bypassing our opponent's resistance by flowing around it. So they're very closely related, but not every river principle application is a redirection, and not every redirection is also a river principle application. They're just happen to be very tightly knit here in this particular application, because this move is so fluid and so much about flowing past the person's hands. But let's isolate those principles and discuss them individually. First of all, the river principle teaches from here, as he's pushing me up, I want to get to a neck hug. My goal is hug his neck. He's blocking me. The river principle teaches, don't focus on what he's doing, right? Bypass the resistance by flowing around it. So whatever he's doing to block me, I got to get past these hands. And when the river water is flowing down, when the water's flowing down the river and a rock presents itself, how much time does the water waste on the rock? None. The second the rock appears, the water flows past it and continues to its objective downstream. In this case, my objective is clear. Hug his neck, put my hooks in. So when I land here, it's like, I'm very quick to just not meet the resistance head on, but rather to quickly deflect or move and go to achieve my objective nonetheless. Now, in this case, the achievement of that objective comes by way of the redirection principle. I am redirecting Hidon's hands on my body. And redirection can happen one of two ways. By changing the contact plane of the resistance. So if he puts my hand up and I do that, that's one, is redirection, change the contact plane and the energy flows. Or by introducing an intercepting force. So if Hidon was going to put his fist on this fist on my hand right here, I can go like this, redirect. So by adding an intercepting force, you can change the direction of someone's energy. In this case, that's not what we're doing. We are, in fact, changing the contact plane, and then we're slipping right through their arms, okay? So redirection and river principle at their fullest. So we're going to start this drill by pushing my chest. Go to your knees. Heavy hands. Retract one shoulder. Why are we retracting? Because we're taking weight off of this hand. Because if we try to swim right now, you'll feel like you're congested right here. Get stuck.
Too much friction.
Yeah, too much pressure. So instead, I'm going to redirect. Look, now there's nothing here. And now my hand comes in. Once your hand snakes in, don't just do this at all. Don't hit his arm. It's not about moving the hand at all. It's about going. Watch my shoulder now. Look at my shoulder. That's the whole move. And then as that's happening, my other hand will also just kind of slide in and I'll get inside on both. But sometimes you just do one, and I'm already here, look.
Yeah.
I never even had to kill the second hand because my first shoulder came through so beautifully, but for drill purposes, we'll do both.
And even when this hand comes through right here, notice how when Henner does this, he doesn't bring his hand through and just post it heavy on the ground. It's not quite this. The weight kind of continues on me. So as Henner blades his shoulders and the hand slips through, that hand begins to almost slide out as the other one slides through.
So that it doesn't stop my closeness.
Yes. Yeah. So the river, the flow, the weight continues. It never stops.
There you go. Now I'm not stopping until our chests are in contact with each other and I'm in that neck hug to prevent subsequent push attempts.
Yes. Now the bottom person, there will be times where if you're laying low right here on me, I need help. Okay, I can't always lift him up. So Henner already being on his knees really helps as you go to pick yourself up. Yeah, it makes my job a little easier. So
especially
I can
if
pick
they're smaller,
up.
yeah.
Now, and finally, we have to discuss this. Even though being on your knees, you do have better base. You have better side-to-side base. There might be times where we have our hooks in, go ahead, full hooks in, and the hand lets go, and somebody pushes up, and Henry just goes, boop, boop, and he swims.
Early.
So do you always have to go to your knees? No.
Not if you don't get full extension, for sure. Look, right there. I'm already out here, Mo.
Yeah, I was pretty close to full extension. Yes, I was.
If he gets to this,
go back. Keep your hooks in. Keep your hooks in. Keep your hooks in. Swim. Turn your shoulders.
Can't.
Yeah, you can. Swim it in. Go ahead. He's joking. He can't. Go ahead. Turn your shoulders. Blade it and go. Now, we just have to know the risks involved.
The risk
in
is
swimming and not in doing the high swim and not going to your knees. And that is you are more tippable.
A little more. But if you swim quickly and fluid and efficiently,
yes,
it's possible that you're able to get those bladed shoulders right in there. But for learning purposes, you don't.
Go to your knees first.
Let's
you have to go to our knees.
I'll go to my knees here. One. Look how slow. Robotic. Blade, knife. Watch the shoulder. Keeps going. Blade, knife, and come all the way down. If he don't, as he pushes me up, if as I swim, he comes back inside right now, I just got to swim a little faster and I got to get down. I ultimately have to keep my body descending and swimming nonstop until we land chest to chest. That might require a second or a third swim cycle to get to that final destination if they're able to get their hands back inside and keep pushing you and trying to be funny with it.
Was it mainly about speeding up or was it about keeping continuous pressure?
I think it was
downward
the water
energy?
kept falling down river as I followed up with the swims, but really the constant pressure.
Yeah. You don't have to go much faster. Because if let's just say I do it 7 times. Just keep melting, keep going slow, but keep melting your weight. Keep letting the weight fall. Keep letting the weight fall. It's very taxing on me. So don't rush. Be almost smoother, but just continue to swim and blade and swim and blade. And almost appreciate the fact that they are burning so much energy holding you up.
Yeah, so the most common mistakes we see on this one is people will put their hands up and they'll start swimming this hand, but the shoulder's the forward one. Going like, isn't it working? Pushing. Instead of, look. Boom. So the shoulder has to retract on the side of the swim. Okay, so bad guys are going to lay down. He can try 1 rep where he comes in and as he mounts, the first rep, just do it from here. Don't even let him get the neck hug. Now he's going to do a little shoulder blading.
And feel that. Look at, again, always play both sides. Like,
Try to do it wrong.
I don't know what I'm doing. And then, oh yeah, turn.
Look at his shoulder comes through. And then other hand, shoulder comes through and he's in. And now let's say a couple neck hug switches, his hook switch, but he lets go. And now he let go of my head just so we can drill it. I'll push up here on his outer shoulder area next to his clavicle. Up he goes to his knees. The weight remains on my hands until he retracts and inserts. Boom. Boom. What if I come back in? Look, he's just laying the weight. Look. Look how annoying and low and melty. And then he gets in all the way down. Waterfall. Just we're coming in. Okay, so we did this one solo. We're here. We get pushed up. Look, shoulder back. There's the knife. That's what you need to see. As that shoulder retracts, there's the hand creeping in. Boom. And then you turn. As you start to slide in, you go. Don't stop on that stiff arm. Once you swim the first hand through, do not post. Let it slide. Boom. And then slide. And then you fall all the way in and get that neck hug. Hopefully it takes only 1 or 2 swims. And you are in there, you guys. But bladed shoulders, redirection principle, river principle. No matter what, we're getting down river and we're getting to our destination of head control, hooks in, anchor and base. And here's the most important thing. When someone reveals themselves to you that they are in fact a bench presser, a pusher, and you effectively neutralize them, your number 1 priority, like it was for low swim, is to prevent them from being positioned favorably to execute the same escape attempts multiple times. Because people will change their behaviors. If I push Shido one time and he swims, I'm already taking notes as the attacker. So it's almost like reverse reconnaissance. You have to know that they're learning your counters to their escape attempts as well. So your goal is to neutralize them and then position yourself in a way where subsequent push attempts of the same kind are not possible. And what that means is getting into your neck hug, getting your hooks in, and preventing those additional pushes. That's the best solution, that they don't ever push you. But if they do, you have to have that fluidity, that shoulder turn, those angles, those redirection principles dialed in to get yourself back to close, no doubt, okay? No doubt. Stay close, stay low, redirection, river. Have fun with this one. It's a little tiring for the bottom person, so top person, do facilitate them a little bit in carrying your own weight, but also remembering that part of the reason why this move works, and it's critical, is that once they're extended with their arms, you have to put weight on their hands.
Yes.
You have to let me carry your weight at the top. Otherwise, my hands are not burdened with any carrying responsibility, so they can move and create new threats that might be more challenging than simply dealing with them up on your upper chest or neck area. All right? High swim from the mount control. Let's practice this one, and we'll see you in the next one.
Once your opponent realizes there is absolutely no way they're going to escape your mount from their back on the mat, right? From a supine position. Once they can't move you, they're going to try to move themselves underneath you. And there are few ways to move themselves when they don't know jiu-jitsu. And of the few ways that are possible, the number one most common in all history of mankind and womankind is from here, I'm controlling, it's for them to roll through, go, 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 roll, 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 and try to get up and build the house, build that, and get up. Okay? So there's this desire to roll underneath for Hidon to go from a supine on his back position to a prone belly down position. That desire is a very natural response to failing to get me off with his bench press, his bump, his push, his throws. Okay?
And we have a whole lesson dedicated to what to do when someone rolls to their knees.
You're going to love it. If they are successful at rolling through, we're going to take full advantage.
Yes.
So it's not a huge problem. However, my theory is this. If he wants to roll to his knees, if that's where he feels safe, like he might be able to build the house and get up, then guess what? I don't want him to roll to his knees. That's that simple. So if I'm low and I'm in control, whether I have a neck hug or not, when Hidon comes through, watch what we're going to do. One, we're going to chill. Keep rolling. Keep rolling. Keep rolling. Keep rolling. Keep rolling. Stop trying. I come right back to my neck hug. Boom. Boom. Back to my hooks. Back to my anchor and base. Everything the same. So I'll put my hands out just to allow Hidon the chance, because if I'm too tight right here, it's almost like it's hard to even get your hand across to begin with.
Yes.
Right? But if I'm a little more open and Hidon's hand crosses the center line, look, the moment he crosses, freeze. 2 hands to one side. I take my hand on the front side, underhook, half Nelson, lift the hook, hand out for base, and hip pressure. And we chill right here, fully negating his roll potential. When he stops fighting, I feel the softness on this arm or trying to swim under it, I loop around and I go back to the neck hug. Okay, one more time. We're here. It doesn't matter which way he's coming through. Look, so when Hidon crosses over, all you have to remember is the side he's going, that arm is going to underhook the reach through arm and then basically overhook or go behind their neck. Okay, so underhook, overhook the neck. This is called the half Nelson, where you hook your hand deep behind their neck. You don't have to actually grab with your hand. You can actually overlap and use just your form. My hand's not even touching. But here's the key. I want to drive my hips into his chest on the backside hook and put my hand out for base, so if he switches directions, I don't fall this way. I feel really solid right here.
So you said either he relaxes and you loop the arm around my head, right? Or he tries to swim his hand inside. You don't want that.
He may try. Go ahead.
Yeah.
When you come under, do it, and then he'll want to roll, keep rolling, to go to his knees and get up. You see, I don't want that. So in response to either, and in both of those cases, what precedes either one of those movements? His relaxation. So if he's going to swim under my arm, he's going to relax. So my response ultimately, regardless of what he intends to do, my response is to the relaxation of his initial pronation attempt. So once again, for drill purposes, it's kind of fun to start from our knees, not so much hip pressure, just to allow this person to come through. In real life, full hip pressure. But for drill, I'm chest low. Hidon starts to cross over. As soon as he clears the center line, look, I go underhook, overhook, and I put my back hook in. I chill right here. When he softens up, I loop my hand, look at my hand, around his head, and I get into my neck hug. And then for drill purposes, hand goes out, he's coming the other way. Look, as his hand comes under, look, I underhook the arm, I behind the neck, I drive my hips in his, and I put my hook in the back leg, elevating his back leg off the mat, posting my hand out, or my elbow, it's fine. When he softens up right here, watch my hand. It's almost like I'm cupping his head, and my hand loops around into his neck. He comes through one more time. This way over here, Hidon. He comes through. I let him go. Look. Underhook, overhook, back hook, hand out. Keep that stiff arm. The more locked out this arm is, the more leverage I have. Keep going, Hidon. He can't fight it. When he softens up and I feel his spirit break, my elbow goes around, and I fall right back into the neck hug. Hidon, turn one time. This is the half Nelson roll prevention technique from the supine subject here. So, yes. In real life, full hip pressure, full neck hug, you don't want to let them come through. But let's just say for drill, as I cross over, he has to go under. Big mistake, people will go over and then go this way. It's not going to work. I can still sit up. Okay, so as I come through, watch Hidon's hand. Underhook, stiff arm behind my neck, back hook goes in and hips heavy. And now full hip pressure. I can try as hard as I want, and there's no way I can get my shoulders to roll through. As I soften up, watch his elbow, loop and hug. Other hand coming through, boom, he underhooks. He overhooks, I'm going, he drives his hook in, and now he goes. I'm trying, it's like I'm running into a brick wall. And I go, man, there's no way. And then I come around.
And
See how I very much lower my body. So as I go here, I don't just stay here. I let my whole body drop. My hips drop and my upper body, my shoulders.
look how low he is.
Pretty close to the ground right here.
Super. And I'm trying. I'm like, there's no way. And then he loops around and he gets back in his neck hug.
Yeah, you won't have to do too many of those to help this person, you know, burn out and exhaust.
Cool. So from the mount right here, check this out. Solo, I'm here. As the person crosses through, watch what I do. Underhook, over their neck, hip pressure, hand out. There's your position. Chill, chill, chill. As they start to soften up, take this hand, loop the elbow around the head and square back up. Come back to the knees, just for drill purposes. He's coming through. Underhook, overhook. Watch the back hip, watch the hand. Boom. Look how low, like he don't say. Full smash with the hips, hand out. This other knee stays propped out, and I'm good to go right here. When he softens up, I square my pelvis up, put my both hooks in, back to neck hug, hand out. Awesome, friends. Very good. Principles are what? Anchor and depletion. We should show real quick. So Hidon's down. Very quickly. Look at the anchor principle. We love it. Where's the anchor? You guys already know. He comes through, comes through, comes through. Look at this. Anchor is connecting my body to his. Look at that. So I see two. Solid anchor behind his neck, right? To prevent his effectiveness here. By me connecting to Hidon's neck, this arm is fully nullified. Fully. Anchor principle. And I'm also anchoring here, keeping his leg up. Because if I don't, he can pronate his hips and go to his knees. Come on through. He can go a little more easily. Go back. So by lifting this leg up, I'm anchoring to it, hand out, but I'm really connecting to the back of his neck right here, okay? And then separately, the depletion principle, which is
It's happening all over the place.
everything that's happening right now from mount control, but specifically, Hidon trying to pronate, and I'm neutralizing it. As much as this is preventing his actual desired outcome, it's also breaking his spirit. Because imagine being a human being on the planet Earth, on your back, and all that you want in your life is to go from supine to prone. That's it. You don't want water, you don't want air, you don't want food. You want to go from supine to prone.
And you can't.
And someone is preventing you from turning onto your stomach. All you want in your life is being neutralized because of technique. That's the depletion principle at its finest.
Yeah.
And that's why we love this technique so much. They want to turn. We don't want them to. But Henner, don't you want them to turn so you can do a choke? We're going to cover in some future lessons. Wouldn't that be nice? Yes, but let me ask you this question. If you have a question for me, I got a question for you. When the subject finally turns to their stomach, do I want them to have 100% of their energy reserves or 8%, 5%? So the answer is yes. We want the back of the subject, but we want their back when we're ready to take their back and when there's nothing left in their energy reserves. That's the whole point. I do want to take the back, but not when he wants me to take his back. I want to take his back when I'm done with the mount and there's nothing left beneath me. And then I'm like, okay, cool, I'll let you roll now because there's no fight in them left.
You kind of want their back when you don't need it anymore.
There you go.
Which is when they're completely depleted.
And that's what this will accomplish for you guys. Have fun. Half Nelson bonus slice for lesson number 3, mount control. We hope you enjoy it as much as we do. Let's sharpen those reflexes here, ladies and gentlemen, with mount control, all variations in combination with Americana arm lock. So now that we understand mount control as a principle, as a concept of depletion, let's use our mount control, but let's not rush into the submission.
After a fair amount of control, let's just say 20, 30 seconds, you hug the neck, you pin the wrist, you go for the Americana arm lock. As you loop the arm around the head, they're checking your base, they're pushing, but then all of a sudden the bottom person says, your partner says, hey, give me some extra strength right now. And basically allow me to be stronger than what I am. And now when they push your hip, abort the arm lock. As if they weighed 275 pounds and they were full of energy. So that way you go from catching a submission to everything going south. And you go back to position before submission. There you go, guys. It's all about diversifying the indicators right now. All Americanas with all mount control. And then changing the orders. Not new slices. It's just same slices applied in different order that you have not yet explored because your partner is so deliberate and so crafty with their display and demonstration of those indicators. As long as we're strengthening our relationship with each indicator,
like we said, moderate intensity to begin, only escalating that level of intensity if there's a very high level of comfort. But trust me, it's not about testing, pressure testing right now, whether the move works or not. It's about recognizing whether or not you can even identify which mount control, which Americana, which technique should be applied based on what's being presented to you.
It's about feeling.
Reflex development drill. Start from the mount, control for 15 to 30 seconds with all elements, and then bring in an Americana arm lock, and then reverse rolls. Other person, mount control, mount control, mount control, mount control, and then reverse rolls. No increased intensity until technique is perfect. Fight simulation drills. We're so happy to add this to the party.
Yes.
And they're going to start very basic, but they will become quite intricate as the course progresses. This is where we, rather than focusing on every variation of one or two techniques, which is what the reflex development drills are for, the fight simulation drills are a string of techniques with specific variations of those techniques. But the goal is more of a kind of a long distance flow than a short immersive drilling of all possible contingencies. And what will happen is today we have a 3-piece FSD, fight simulation drill for you. And future classes will be 4, 5, 6, sometimes 7 or more pieces, slices, variations, all strung together. Because realistically, if they get in a fight, if we get into a street fight, it may not be takedown, mount, arm lock. It may, but it may not be. It may be a string of techniques strung together in more intricate ways and ways we can't even predict. The point is, you want to start understanding how mount connects with mount escapes, connect with mount controls, connect with submissions. So all of these concepts as the bigger picture, fight simulation drills are just another way to strengthen your relationship with these techniques. One is more immersive and fewer lessons. The other is more lessons, but less immersive in each individual lesson because you're focusing on a specific slice. And then the goal is, just to be clear, by the time we're completely done with the course here, that you'll be able to string all the moves together in any combination with any bad guy or training partner and demonstrate proficiency for any indicator presented to you because your muscle memory is so well developed from all the time you put in, both in these reflex development drills, but also in the scripted fight simulation drills, which you're going to be introduced to right now.
What you just explained was freestyle.
Freestyle.
Was not even scripted. These are scripted.
These are
fight simulation
all scripted
drills.
FSDs. You're going to get to freestyle fight simulation drills.
Everything.
Way down the line. But first, let's learn scripted, how these look and flow. And let's start very basic. Trap and roll headlock variation. Mount control with low swim emphasis. And then Americana arm lock neck hug variation. So Hito's going to mount. Hito's my attacker. I'm the one doing the FSD. He's the bad guy. I'm the good guy. After we do the whole thing, we'll switch roles. Boom. Boom. I pull him in, and look, he goes into what? The headlock variation, because that's what the script provides. I'm blocking, I'm chilling right here, tucking and rolling, boom, and we go. And then from here we land. Hito might check me a little bit, coming up. Following, staying low, staying tight. When I feel ready, no rush. Boom, boom, boom. Coming over, and now I'll go into my mount control as a default. Hook. This is automatic, right? Every time you mount, you have to have anchor and base. So we're low, we're tight. Now as he goes, look. Boom. I watch it, I roll it, and I tuck it. Go again. Walk the fingers north, neck hug, hip pressure, roll the elbow, swim right through. And now from here, look, little distraction. His hand comes up, pin the arm out. He doesn't like that. He's bending, he's pulling, and then look, false feed, try to get out a little bit. I'm holding, hand off double C-clamps, come under, monkey, monkey, loop around, head low, check me, hip, hip, hip. Switch, boom, and then slide and lift. And then, in theory, it would be Hito's turn for the same exercise, right? I would come in, maybe get him in a headlock direct here, or even other side right now, just so we roll this way, have my hooks in, look what he does. He's blocking, he kills the hook, tuck and roll, and off we go. Okay? So, let's talk about a couple details, and then he would go through the whole sequence. Let's talk about a couple things, Hito, now that we're talking about FSDs, that they can use to make these FSDs really, just more exciting and productive and have fun with them. One thing is I love this idea of narration execution. There's something to be said about, as me, I was the one doing the technique, narrating the actions as I do them. So I'm saying out loud, trapping the arm, pinning the head, anchoring here, killing the back hook, blocking the punch, tuck, velocity, bridge and roll, landing the guard, keeping the person underneath me. So this ability to verbalize your actions is a unique relationship with jiu-jitsu. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And obviously we're professional teachers of jiu-jitsu, so it's very easy for us to talk. The point is, it's yet another relationship with the elements of the technique when you're just talking your way through the details that you know moderately well, because these are, right now, these are an accumulation of several classes now that you're practicing. So the point is, verbal narration during an FSD is not frowned upon, and it's actually quite impressive. Anything else?
Especially in the beginning, when the FSDs are going to be a little bit new for you. This is only lesson number 3. Maybe like down the road, you know, you're in a lesson number, 24. Then it might be a little faster. You're already moving faster. So the narrating might not make sense. But at least right now, but I guess, again, why not do every FSD?
Well, even at 24.
I'm saying do every FSD one time with narration. And then as you feel comfortable, then you can leave out the words potentially and go, speed through it.
What else can we do?
Through it.
Another thing, if you really want to have fun, you throw on a blindfold. You close your eyes. So now the attacker is sighted. The defendant is just eyes closed, or take a blindfold and a little bandana or something tied around your head right here so you don't see anything. So he don't gets me in a headlock. And now I'm escaping with a new relationship with the technique. Another way to curveball it. Another way. If these techniques are already pretty comfortable for you, do the entire FSD on the other side. Trap and roll on the other side. Pass the guard on the other side. Americana neck hug variation. Low swim on the other side. Americana on your weak side. So these are we're just throwing out ideas that the point is, these FSDs, we're giving you a very specific script to start with, but ultimately how you digest jiu-jitsu and the lens through which you observe these FSDs and relate and interact with them, you can be pretty dynamic, pretty creative, and really
have fun.
You can have fun, and this is really where you just kind of let go and have fun. Now, the ultimate level of freedom with an FSD is this. We just told you it's headlock, escape, trap, and roll. We told you it was mount control, low swim emphasis. And we told you it was Americana neck hug variation. Right? We gave you this, not only the lesson, but the specific slice we wanted to emphasize. We need you to follow that. We need you to do that. One for me, one for you. A second time for me, a second time for you. That's the core thing we need you to practice. No excuses and no exceptions. However, once you're done, you might go, that was very fun. Maybe we should try this FSD and modify the variations a little.
Let's do the punch block variation all the way through.
With mount control and a high swim emphasis. And then Americana kneeling variation, the standard, instead of the neck hug, we sit up and we pin the arm down because the guy's trying to push us up after the high swim. We catch his Americana arm, pin it down and lock. The point is, we don't mind if you diversify, but do not diversify until you get your core responsibilities taken care of. You feel me? You don't go play out in the yard until the chores are done. Whether you do the chores blindfolded, whether you narrate your chores, regardless, you need to get the chores done. The homework got to get done.
And finally is the level of resistance. Sometimes it's easy to almost get a little lazy as the bad guy because you've done the move, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So you stop checking the extension on the Americana. You stop pushing the hip for mount control. And we know that it feels pointless. Like, why am I going to push the hip again? But remember, we're here trying to build our confidence and our relationship with these moves. So even if you do it lightly, you can just do 10%. You don't have to push 80%. A light little push just to say, hey, I'm right here. I'm right here. I'm right here. It means so much. And it's going to really show. Because think about it. If nobody pushes you and checks you for a month, when you mount somebody, right when you land in the mount, you behave differently than if you've been getting pushed every day for the last month. That person's going to mount with so much more awareness and they'll be so much more prepared than those that haven't been getting checked. So check the legitimacy of everything lightly.
Let me tell you this right now. If you were to do a private class in jiu-jitsu, Gracie Combatives, with an instructor who was newly certified and very, very new to jiu-jitsu, and then you were to do a private class with Hidon, you would learn lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, lesson 4, 5, 6. You would learn the same curriculum. The difference in what you'd be getting with Hidon is he would be masterfully checking the legitimacy of every piece of the technique, sometimes multiple legitimacy checks at the same time, so that your conscientious connection, control, resistance, pressure here, but don't overexert, don't hold your breath, breathe, resist, but breathe. Your conscientious relationship with overcoming his legitimacy checks and his resistance, his targeted resistance to your technique, That relationship is one that he would masterfully craft in you by his targeted resistance and legitimacy checks. So what we're saying is that this ability to be a training partner that is so amazing for your partner in the room, it's not easy. We're not saying that this is like something that you just master like that. But what we're proposing is that go to the extra lengths as each other's training partners to try to become that in pursuit of being the best training partner in the world. And what that means is not ruining your partner's techniques. It means verifying the effectiveness of every component of their technique, right? So if they put a hook in, you verify that that hook is in by pushing their hip. If they hook a wrist, you verify that that arm is not extendable by trying to extend it a little bit to see if they got it locked in. That right there is the master that is Hito and Gracie in a private class, where a less knowledgeable instructor might not be so amazing at checking you everywhere. And that's why you would keep coming back for more, because you love going with Hito because he's the perfect partner for your skill level and necessary development at that stage of your growth. It's just so targeted, you guys. So take pride in pursuing the mastery of the skill level that Hito's talking about, because it really makes you an incredible pleasure to work with, whether you're in a group training environment or privately in your garage with your significant other. Again, it's what do they need the most from you, and just being almost like a grappling dummy with no spirit or no consideration for what they need most from you. It's just not that fun to practice with you. But if you're like, boom, check here, nice, hey, and you're giving them positive feedback, oh my gosh, every repetition is like a journey, an exciting journey, and a progressive, we're getting better together journey. And that's what's so fun about the practice. So that can happen in FSDs, that can happen in individual techniques, and it always happens at higher levels when the person is more comfortable with the technique. That's the whole point. We're going to go from 0. Eventually, when you get in a fight, there will be 100% resistance. And what your job is to give them 1% today, 2% tomorrow, 3% the next day as you're progressing. For any given technique, the 1, 2, 3 continues for each individual technique. Because 2 weeks from now, when there's a brand new technique in lesson number 14, they need level 1 resistance there. But they need level 14 resistance for trap and roll, in terms of like just checking, because they should be dialed in, because you're constantly recycling the old and investing in learning the new.
Only resisting as much as perfect technique allows.
Boom. Have fun. Fight simulation drill number 1. Go at it, guys. Here we go. When we think about winning a fight in the least violent way possible, we think close the distance, take down, mount control, hip pressure, neck hug, dynamic hooks, and after a few seconds, 15 to 30 seconds, max 30 seconds, as quick as 15, as long as 30 seconds, the subject underneath us realizes it is impossible for them to escape from beneath us. And once they realize that, they don't want to play anymore. Whatever they were upset about is no longer an issue. They comply, we're good to go. And the principles, the core connection principle, right? And not just connection in the literal sense, connection to both prevent their movement. We talked about that belt demo, where you can bench press the belt if it's just a piece of fabric. But when the belt is tied onto someone, why can we not bench press it? For one reason, the belt is connected, right? So connection to prevent escape movements, but also to predict. We love the idea of connection as a sensor to their movements.
Now, you said 15, 30 seconds max. But now is a good time to introduce the 100-second rule. Because 15, 30 seconds is possible. But just to be safe, if you mount somebody and it's a street fight, you mount on the person. After 15, 30 seconds passes, wait even longer. Wait 100 seconds. And we like to say that if you control for 15 seconds and you go for an Americana arm lock, there's a 15% chance that you catch it. If you hold for 55 seconds, there's a 55% chance that you catch the Americana arm lock. So why not hold the person for 100 seconds? So there's a 100% chance you catch the Americana arm lock. But like you said in the beginning, we don't even need the Americana arm lock. We can win the fight by simply controlling the person through connection and depletion.
Depletion principle, connection principle. And remember, the person may want to roll to their stomach. We don't want to let them, right? We have that half Nelson. We have our hip pressure. If we can prevent it. Why? Because when they eventually roll to their stomach, with our permission, they'll be so much more depleted if we prevented their first 3, 4, 5, 7 attempts. And now they're just, please, I'll do anything. Okay. At that point, they won't even roll to their stomach anymore. We're just going to talk to them. It's going to be a conversation.
Yeah.
It's, hey, I want to let you up. Do you want to be let up? Please, anything to get out of here.
They had 100 seconds. They had 100 seconds to change their minds. And I guess not be angry anymore.
Bro.
To sit with their feelings. Because they were angry. Egos, alcohol, we don't know. Anger was there. Resistance, who knows? And when you give them 100 seconds, as time passes, if you let time pass, before you know it, the person's almost like, why am I even fighting you?
Well, that was a bad idea. They reflect and they regret.
Not only because you have amazing hip pressure and just overall dominance and control, but because they don't even know why they're mad anymore. Okay, so
right, they had a cool off period.
yes, sit
There
up,
you go.
talk to them, shake their hand, let them up, and bring them to the garage to train with you the next day.
Many people who practice jiu-jitsu can't wait for an opportunity to try their techniques in a real fight, but this is a very dangerous perspective to have. Even though you might have spent years perfecting the techniques that will allow you to quickly and easily overcome an aggressor, the reality is street fights are always unpredictable and dangerous no matter how trained you are. There are just so many variables to consider: weapons, multiple attackers, injuries, infectious disease transmission, not to mention the legal implications. If you win the fight and get sued right afterwards, what's the point? All of this considered, it's easy to see why de-escalation is the single most important skill you can have in your arsenal. By creating distance, setting boundaries, and using calm, assertive, and sometimes compassionate communication, you can reduce the combative energy between you and the aggressor, and only if you master this skill will you be able to avoid the avoidable fights. If the fight is absolutely unavoidable, then do what you have to do. But as soon as the threat is neutralized, negotiate with the aggressor and make your safe exit as soon as possible. Every second in a street fight is a second of uncertainty. So the sooner you get out, the sooner you are demonstrating the highest level of self-defense.